Well, I did my interview on one of my best friends. Um, I had found out earlier in our friendship that he had had experience in a Buddhist temple. Well, to start off his life, he went into he was raised Buddhist, and his parents are from Thailand, or his descendants are from Thailand. So he was raised in a Thailand Buddhist temple here in New Mexico, here in Albuquerque, actually. It's really interesting. Definitely said he went to the Buddhist temple quite often. He told me a detailed description about like how in the temple they have this big room when they go into, so to say, the service or to the ceremonies. The floor is really all flat. Everyone sits on the floor, sits on the ground. But the monks themselves are elevated about 2 feet off the ground on another level. These guys, when they did the chants and stuff, it seemed that he told me that he never really knew exactly what they meant. Everyone just did them as more of a ritual type situation. He said he never really knew exactly what the rituals meant either. He tries to ask his mom and other people who are still actively involved with the Buddhist tradition, but they can't seem to answer him. A big part of the chants, though, is it seems to do some sort of soothing. They have different chants for soothing, healing, relaxing, encouragement. They do it for all sorts of different reasons. It's really, really cool, actually. They say when the ceremonies start, they usually start off with a chanting type situation, and then they go into another way of not necessarily praying to Buddha, but so to say, saying chants to Buddha or saying ritualistic sayings to him, sort of asking him for help and guidance since he is the great teacher. They did want his blessing. He said during certain ceremonies, like the birthday ceremony, which is very interesting to me, at the beginning they'd start raising chants, and if it was your birthday, you would be covered in a white sheet. And this was so that you could think about all the negative things that has happened and all the dukkha in your life, if you will, all the suffering that you've had, and by doing this, you will be thinking about it and hopefully cleansing your mind. And then he said you get the sheet taken off, and then all of a sudden you will face towards the Buddha, or the statue of the Buddha, or the symbolistic item of the Buddha, and you will face towards it and get covered, and by that you were blessed. And near the end of the ceremony, of the birthday ceremony, you got, they had this candle, which I found really interesting. They would melt a candle over a basin of water in hopes of hearing words from what they would call, in the afterlife, from Buddha in his sense, and from just spirits, and saying how it would melt they would melt a candle into a basin of water. And that just seems really interesting to me, and it sounds really elegant also at the same time. And when the Buddhists finished melting the candle, they would get a brush and then flick it onto the person's face, whosever birthday it was. Almost as if it was holy water, like in the Catholic tradition. It was very different to me. I was wondering how like those coincided together, but anyway. Another thing that he had told me, like the main thing that had happened in his life, was that his grandma had died the summer before his freshman year of high school, and his family wasn't necessarily devout Buddhists, but they he obviously was raised in a Buddhist traditional home, and his grandma was a devout Buddhist, and they had had her memorial service in Thailand. So they had flown over to Thailand, and he said that his parents had discussed them since his grandma had died. They had hoped that maybe him and his brother would be raised as monks, and it's such a respectful, uplifting thing for you to take on the monk lifestyle, and it's very respectful and very uplifting to take on that sort of lifestyle, because it is the ultimate selfless lifestyle, but yet it is still trivial and hard to do. So the summer before his freshman year, they had flown them over to Thailand, and literally he said, like, within seconds, within minutes after his grandma's memorial service had ended, they had taken him and his brother and on their way to the Buddhist temple, which is actually where the memorial service was, but they had taken them outside of where the service was and into more of the core, and they shaved their heads and had given them their robes. And they said they just kind of followed along with what the traditions were going with.